a regulator has been called to Parliament today and cannot make it, but Lolita will give us a presentation about the situation in Lithuania, and I will send it in email to everyone so you get up to speed. But we do have the pleasure of having Rainer here from Estonia, who is in charge of the regulation in Estonia, and he has some breaking news. But of course, let me just get started, and apparently I'm not Lithuanian, of course, or Estonian, but I do know a couple of things about these jurisdictions since we've been covering them. So there have been many changes, but first introduce yourself, let the audience know who you are.
Good morning once again. My name is Rainer Osanik. I'm the head of Fiscal Intelligence and Information Department in the Ministry of Finance. Currently, my department, I call it as we cover everything that's no other department in the Ministry of Finance is not covering, because we're dealing with gambling, anti-money laundering, state audit, not state auditing, but auditing regulations, internal auditing regulations, bookkeeping regulations. So it's what a wide areas of things that we're dealing in our department. And as Zoltan was already saying, we are doing something in Estonia currently. There is one news I'm gonna give you, but there is a two sides of a coin always. And the Estonian regulation has not been changed almost 15 years. So it has been one of the most stable legislation, because as you know, the legislation keeps to change very fast and rapidly. But this regulation has been stayed, almost not changed. So we currently are doing some major change in regulations. And so can I say the news now?
Not yet, because the moderator appeared. Hello!
Hey.
Good morning, Andrews.
I didn't think that I was late, sorry for that.
All right. So the moderator, Andrews Gabnis, everyone.
Hi. So, yeah, nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you. So, I was interrupting something, so basically, just continue with wherever you are. So I'll jump in. I'll jump in.
I was just saying one new that was announced yesterday, one news. Estonia has again a new government from this few months ago, and the government signed a new coalition agreement. And in agreement that was published yesterday, the new government promised to lower the gambling tax to 4%. By the 2028, so the same rate as it is in Malta. But this coin has another side as well. At the one side, when you lower the tax, and you know that you might be trigger remote gambling organization to Estonia, we will tighten regulation to obtain the license in Estonia at the same time. So I will be giving you some more details about that, I guess, a bit later.
So later today.
Later today, okay. Yes. During this session, because maybe you want to add something about Lithuania.
Well, maybe I will.
Okay.
I'm actually. I'll jump into Estonia a bit when I will, figure my head clear what I'm talking about right now. So.
Okay. So what actually we are doing now in the process? We started amendment of legislation already at the midsummer of last year. So we prepared the initiative of exchange of legislation. We covered all kind of information from all related parties, including gambling organizations, gambling providers, and now we are on a phases of not yet drafting the law, but already negotiating about our ideas, and the law drafting will start after the summer. So our idea is to go with a new legislation to the Parliament at the end of the year and the beginning of next one. So the amendments will become valid in 2027. So this is the idea. But as I was saying, we are lowering the gambling tax in Estonia. At the same time, we will have a bit rapid or forced demand to establish more rules to be more in safer side with gambling. So what has happened recently with years in Estonia, at first sight we are rather high in a level of risk of gambling, or in a level of involvement in medical side of gambling. The risk level in Estonia is very high. It is almost as high as in Finland, and if you're aware, it is most higher in Europe. So we have to deal with responsible gambling, since it seems to be going from our hands in one side. In second side, we are currently in the end of process of national risk assessment. This is money laundering risk assessment that the state and my department is currently finalizing. We publish it in September, but already during this process we have seen that the gambling sector in Estonia, the AML risk, the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing risk, has been increasing. This is the highest we ever have been. Usually the gambling sector in Estonia was rather low in risk level, but now it has been changed. I'm not allowed to say what's the level currently, but it's higher than it has been before. So it means that we do have to deal with more AML risk in the sector, and more rules, and more all kind of actions to control the market.
Sorry, just to interrupt. What are the reasons for that kind of a higher risk currently? Do you have any the behavior of the operators, the behavior of the players, the environment as in general?
Like the most biggest problem is currently remote gambling, because in Estonia you can obtain a remote gambling license without having any connection to Estonia. The companies established. Almost half of remote gamblers in Estonia are not having any connections with Estonia, so we don't even provide the services for Estonian people. So they obtain a license, but we're working in other jurisdictions, and since we do not control them, in that sense, it has been risen the AML risk, and also we know that other jurisdictions have been penalized remote gamblers who are having Estonia license, but in other jurisdictions, because of not following the simple know your customer, or the basis of your monetary funds and that kind of things. So we need to change that. So in one side we lower the tax to attract more gambling organizations, but in other hand we have to tighten the rules to obtain the license and to keep the license.
Okay, got your point. But the general idea of the framework, as you know, as currently is in Estonia, that the regulator does not prohibit the registration and the participation of the gamblers outside of the country. Will that remain in place, or?
It's still a final decision will be made, of course, to the parliament, but we're currently moving to demands that either you have to establish a Estonian company and have the board in Estonia, or at least you will have permanent representatives in Estonia who will be responsible. So it's either one or another way. It depends now how the negotiations will go at the far end, but currently from FIU, Financial Investigation Unit, the proposal has been that the companies must have full connection to Estonia. So it means that it should be an Estonian company.
Yeah, we have a question.
May I ask whether Estonian government plans some changes of Estonian companies who make sweepstake casinos outside Estonia but registered in Estonia?
What do you mean by that?
I mean not real casinos, social gaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Estonian legislation we don't have that kind of possibilities, and we have no plan to regulate them. We do have in Estonia a problem, as is in every other country, so-called the black market. At the moment you close something, the black market will come in. So we don't want to be the ones who make too harsh rules to obtain licenses, and when it happens that the black market will open and the Estonian gamblers are under any kind of control. But at our side, answer to your questions, we actually increasing the demands for we call like levels of which are not under the gambling law, because currently, for example, if you are organizing a game with winning some less than 1,000 euro, you don't have to register it. We will increase it to 3,000. We will increase every number in the legislation currently by 3 times, because these numbers have been 15 years old. And 15 years ago, 1,000 euro was different meaning and value than it's now. So we are increasing everything, and it means that it will be legal to play games with, for example, price less than 3,000 euros, for example. You don't have to register it. And also we will increase all kinds of max bets, because currently, for example, if you play in cruise ferries, it's 10 euros. We will raise it to 30 euros, for example. So we 3 times triple all the levels currently in the law to make it more nowadays applicable. Was it answer to your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I see that you're coming from a very, very stable gambling environment. So one of the most stable environments in most probably all Europe. So what we see now is that the focus on AML has been there for at least 2-3 years, and you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have some changes even from the 1st of January this year, and you are going to increase the threshold of many requirements that you have now in place in terms of the AML. But what about the other basic requirements that everybody who are interested in obtaining the license want to know, like the entry requirements in terms of the share capital, in terms of the state fee, the requirements, and yeah. So you were mentioning local-based company, which most probably you will have some sort of rules of the term for those who are operating from Cyprus or Malta.
Yes.
So can you elaborate on that a bit?
Actually, currently, the transformation from one to another, we haven't established the idea yet how it will be done, but definitely it will take years. So the license usually is renewed in 10 years. So maybe it will be the end of a term, and to obtain a new license, you need to be registered in Estonia. But if we will establish registration demand, because our aim is not to have a company in Estonia, our aim is to be able to monitor, to evaluate, to follow what the company is doing, and to be able to contact with them. In Estonia, we had a situation, for example, if when FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit, was doing his AML check, he couldn't reach the remote gamblers. We didn't answer, although we had some contact person in FIU as well. We didn't answer to any questions, and only once we've been penalized. We get fined when the lawyers, advocates started to write the letters. So in that time, this letter we all received, but not the previous one, demanding them to give the data. So that's not the situation we want to continue. So we have to, at the same time, going a bit further, we will also increase by multiple times penalties applicable to law. Because currently the penalty for 3,000 euros or 5,000 euros is not something that keeps the gambling organization, remote gamblers at doing, it's not just not penalizing. So if the amount will be 10 times or even more bigger, in such case it have an effect. But starting the questions with demand, how to enter the market, We will change them as well, but idea again is not to restrict or to be in a situation that nobody wants to register it in Estonia. So we are not doing very drastic changes, but definitely we will do something. We will keenly look at the AML side to be sure that the AML side is done. We also, as I mentioned, with responsible gambling, we will insert into the law certain demands. I know that Lithuania has been on the level of a government established remote responsible gambling regulations, as I saw already. It will be valid from next year, I think. So our idea is not to regulate on a government level, but to give very strict guidelines, and during the process of obtaining the license, which will be very keenly checked and monitored, how the company itself is planning to establish with responsible gambling. The state fee questions, of course, we are in a situation that everything is more expensive, so the state needs more money as well. So I can't promise that the state fees will be not higher. This is a political decision, and so the state fees have been increased in all different sectors during the past 2 years, and that it might be continue. And at the same time, demand for capital of a company, we will have changes not on the level, most probably how much it has been, but what is the asset. Because currently the remote gamblers, for example, make non-monetary payments as their, for example, a platform or their game. So we will not want to accept it in the future in that way. So it must be money, and the money must stay in certain kind of fund or banking account, most probably. I would say most probably, because as long as the law is not adopted, I'm not able to say what will be, and only next year, maybe when it's in Parliament and we meet the next year, I can say that what's going to happen in 2007. So currently we are only talking about the process we are moving, but to accept non-monetary payments is something that we think not to be enough in a matter of gambling, remote gambling. And in our side, we don't have as much problems in so-called land gambling, the casinos, because they are much better monitored, they are located in the places, they are following the rules better. The risk in AML matters is mostly the remote gamblers and the gambling organizations that are not working in Estonian markets, that are working in some other jurisdictions. And we do know that, for example, the Cyprus companies register in Estonia, but we don't offer anything in Estonian market. We work back to the Cyprus. And also we have had the situation that the company is offering to Russia services as well that is not in accordance to our sanction policy in Estonia, for example, and things like that.
Okay, understood. So from what I hear from you, so you're taking, Estonia is taking a completely different model as always, basically from other Baltic states, which like Latvia and Lithuania in terms are more similar. They are, let's say, introducing higher state fees, like 200,000 euro or €500,000 as state fees, plus hefty gambling tax, like 20% or similar, and more or less a small number of operators. While you, from what I hear, you don't want to change the aspect of the gambling tax rate, which was like 5, 6, 7, and you want to lower it to 4, which is quite impressive. And the state fee is still like 50, 80, 82,000 euro, which is relatively low if we consider the context of the Baltic states. But you are still going like sort of a Maltese level, sort of Maltese model of attracting as much of the respectful operators to Estonia to incorporate there and proceed with the activities from there, as far as I understand from you. And the changes are directed to that, direction.
Yes, exactly. That's the idea of. In Estonia, the gambling tax is mostly distributed in between of culture and sport. So we have direct use of it. So more tax we collect, the more money the culture and the sport sector, Olympic Committee, and that will get. So the idea of lowering the tax for a politician was or is to attract more gambling organization, mainly remote gambling organizations, and at the same time to not lose the ones we have already. But at the side, we have currently in Estonia around 40 registered licenses. There is always around 2-3 licenses in a process. So we have applied but not yet got. So although we raise tax, and it was predicted that we will lose or the new gambling organization are not coming, we still, it hasn't changed. It still seems that Estonia is attractive, but I guess now when we're turning the tax back to the lower rate, 4%, as it was some long time ago, it seems that we might be attracted a bit more. But the idea is not to again to be the gambling heaven. We are trying to attract the responsible gamblers, as you were saying.
I got your point. So, so what I see is that you are going through the major overhaul of the regulation, which is actually a good thing because it was more or less unchanged from 2010, when everybody's when we all started to obtain licenses there. So I want to now basically cover just very shortly some Lithuanian things because I'm sending all the best wishes to Lolita, who couldn't come today. So and I want to basically understand how much time do we have.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So, so we don't have anything. Yeah, so Lithuania is an ever-changing in terms of the regulatory part. While this year it's only the marketing, advertising, marketing, and stuff which is changing quite dramatically from the 1st of July. And now the first time in many years from 2016, 2016 was the year when the online gambling was started to be allowed. When we have sponsorship as such mentioned in the Gambling Act, which became a bit of a, not a problem, but a spotlight where the operators are using or sometimes maybe some of people call it abusing the sponsorship as advertising tool. So now there's a very stringent and detailed requirements for what can be done as sponsorship and how it can be done. And the major discussion, not disagreement, but discussion is between the Gambling Act as written in the law and the guidelines provided by the regulator, because the regulator has issued a very detailed guidelines what can be allowed and what can't be allowed. And one of the hot topics is whether the names of the sports teams will be allowed to carry the name of the operator, as currently in Lithuania it's a major trend to have the major leagues called the name of the league and the name of the operator, and the sports teams are a high percentage of the major sports teams are called with the name of the gambling operators. So the regulator, in the views of the regulator, it will be prohibited from the 1st of July this year, and from 2028, all of the marketing, all of the advertising of gambling will be prohibited at all. So Lithuania is stepping more or less into the Latvian model, which has always been a total ban of advertising, where the Latvian even the Latvian regulator and Latvian government, they acknowledge that it's not working because the unlicensed the unlicensed operators' advertisement is all over the place, and licensed operators can't do anything. So they are actually moving from that model, searching for different kinds of models where the reasonable amount of advertising could be available to the local market in Latvia, while Lithuania is going the other direction. In some part, it's because of the operators, because they are advertising quite heavily, and quite the aesthetics of the advertisement is not very acceptable to the general public. And it's not only the responsible gambling part, but the public is a bit not very happy about seeing gambling operators' advertisement all over the place in internet, and covered in sports and stuff. So that is a very, very short run for the Lithuanian part, and I'm very, very thankful for the Estonian overview. For me, that's very, very interesting, because we are, as a law firm, we always have at least 3-4 applications in Estonia, so that's very, very important how we will run that in the future. Now, as far as the time has run, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, if you may.
Yeah, if you may, yeah.
The thing is whether Lithuanian government treats sweepstake casinos as regulated or not.
No, there's no regulation in terms of social gaming. Yeah, so there were talks about that, but only on the very, very low key, and it's not all of these kind of things, when it's connected to the already operating real gambling, real money gambling operators, it's that connected. It's always as a part of an advertisement, so it's prohibited. But while it's not connected to the real money operations, it's not regulated, and it's not on the agenda currently.
Thank you.
Maybe one thing I will add at the end, that cryptocurrency has been also an issue used, I guess, in remote gambling. And in Estonia, we plan to allow it only via the companies who have been registered according to MiCA. So if a remote gambler is using a virtual asset wallet provider, then only we accept the companies who have been registered under the MiCA. It doesn't matter in which jurisdictions, but as long as it is a MiCA registration according to MiCA. So we do want to step that step as well. We know that not many jurisdictions have been dealing with cryptocurrencies currently. We are seeking the solutions, but we I guess will be the first one who will take the real actions on that.
Okay, but yeah, so I won't interrupt. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. So before we move on to the next session, I would like to, if you have questions for Rainer or Andrius, during the breaks you can approach them, of course, with a coffee or snack or something. Rainer, I think probably you're open to questions in the breaks.